Silver Street Radio Players present an abridged Columbia Workshop production of Alice in Wonderland, a fairy story of the 19th century, a fantasy for children, peopled with human beings and with animals that act like people. Thank you. Do they mirror people who act like animals? I do not know. I, Charles Lutwidge Dodson, also known by my pen name Lewis Carroll, merely wrote a simple story about a little girl for a little girl. Half the world has called it childish nonsense, the other half significant social satire. To me it has always been simply Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Alice, don't fidget so.
I beg your pardon, sister, but it's so very dull today. Isn't it tea time yet?
Not quite. We'll have tea when I finish the chapter I'm reading. Why don't you go and pick some daisies?
Oh, it's too hot to pick daisies. Sister, look! Down there in the grass, a white rabbit. He's wearing a waistcoat and he's taking a watch out of it.
Oh, Alice, what nonsense.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Oh dear, oh dear, I shall be late.
Sister, did you hear that?
Hear what?
The rabbit. He looked at his watch and then he spoke.
Alice, come back here. Where are you going?
I've got to see the white rabbit again, sister. Bother, he just hopped into that hole under the hedge. But it is a very large rabbit hole. Perhaps I could squeeze through. There, I can see him at the end. I must hurry. Oh, I'm falling!
Either the well was very deep, or Alice fell very slowly. She had plenty of time to look about her and noticed that the sides of the well were filled with cupboards and bookshelves.
You can't really see the background.
After such a fall as this, I shall think nothing of tumbling down the stairs. Why, I wouldn't say anything about it. Even if I fell off the top of the house. Good gracious, I've landed. I ought to be hurt, but I don't seem to be. Now, where is that white rabbit?
Oh, my ears and whiskers, the Queen. She'll have my head if I keep her waiting.
There he goes. He's turned the corner of the passage. I mustn't lose him.
But when Alice turned the corner, the rabbit was gone. She found herself in a long hall lined by doors, all locked. In the middle of the hall was a glass table with a tiny golden key on top. Alice tried the key in every door and had no luck until she found a tiny door as short as her ankle. It led to a lovely garden where the white rabbit hopped away, but Alice couldn't follow him. She couldn't even squeeze her head through.
And even if I could squeeze through, it would be of very little use without my shoulders. How I wish I could shrink like a telescope. I say, there's a bottle on the table. A bottle that certainly wasn't there before. The label reads, "Drink me." Delicious cherry tart, toffee apple, and hot buttered toast. What a curious feeling. I hope I don't shrink too far until I disappear altogether.
Fortunately, she didn't disappear. Unfortunately, the little door had slid shut, and Alice had left the key on the table, and though she saw it plainly through the glass, she was too small to reach it. Soon, her eye fell on a little glass box lying under the table. She opened it and found a cake, on which the words "Eat me" were written in currants.
Well, I'll eat it, and if it makes me grow, I can reach the key. Even if it makes me shrink, I can creep under the door, so either way I'll get into the garden. Shrink or grow? Shrink or... I'm growing! Oh, goodbye, feet. Oh, ouch! Hello, ceiling. At least I can reach the key. Bother, now I'm much too big to fit in the door. I'm 9 feet high, and the shrinking bottle is all empty. Oh, dear. I shall be stuck here forever, and now I'm crying. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Alice. Stop this moment, I tell you.
But she went on crying anyway, shedding gallons of tears until there was a large puddle around her. On Alice cried, and on the puddle spread, and as it got bigger, Alice got smaller.
Gracious me, I'm as small as a mouse now, and my tears are as big as a river. They're washing me right under the door.
Swim Alice did under the door across the river of tears until she crawled ashore to the garden. The head was just taller than the grass.
This garden might as well be the Amazon jungle. I'd better grow again, but how?
Suddenly, Alice noticed a large mushroom growing near her, and on top of it, a large blue caterpillar sat with his arms folded, smoking a long hookah. He didn't look pleased to see her.
And who are you?
Oh, I hardly know, sir, just at present. At least I know who I was when I got up this morning.
Explain yourself.
Oh, I can't explain myself, I'm afraid, sir, because I'm not myself. You see,
I don't see.
I'm afraid I can't put it any more clearly, for I don't understand it myself. Being so many different sizes in a day is very confusing.
Isn't it?
If you'd changed as much as I have today, you'd feel confused too.
Not a chance.
Well, perhaps your feelings are different, but it feels very odd to me.
And you and who are you?
I think you ought to tell me who you are first.
Why?
I've heard enough of you. Good day.
Come back. I've something important to say.
Well,
Control your temper.
is that all?
Yes, good day, my dear.
But,
Once I will make you grow taller, the other side will grow shorter.
sides? The sides of what?
Of the mushroom.
How can you tell which are the two sides of the mushroom when it's perfectly round? Aha, maybe if I stretch my arms as far as they can go and rake off a bit with each hand. There. Now, which is which? I guess I'll try the right hand, sir. The right hand piece first. Oops, wrong side! I'm shrinking so fast, my chin hit my foot. I must hit the left hand piece right away. Finally.
As Alice grew back to her normal size, she saw a house sitting at the end of the garden, on the edge of a vast forest.
Perhaps the rabbit is visiting that house. I'll pay a visit too.
As Alice approached the house, the rabbit came running out of the forest and knocked on the door. It was opened by a footman who was really a frog. Alice crept behind the tree to listen as the rabbit presented a letter nearly as large as himself.
On the Queen of Hearts, an invitation for the Duchess to play croquet.
They both bowed, and the rabbit's ears got tangled with the frog's wig. Alice laughed so much at this that she had to duck behind the tree in case they heard her, and when she peeked out again, the rabbit had gone inside, and the frog footman sat near the door, staring blankly at the sky. Alice went up to the door, knocked, and, when nobody answered, she went in. The door led to a large kitchen. It was full of pepper dust. On one side, a grand duchess stood on the counter, brandishing pots and pans. Across the room, lying on the table, was the plumpest baby Alice had ever seen. He and the Duchess was sneezing furiously. The only thing not sneezing was a strange striped cat. He lay on the hearth and grinned ear to ear.
Achoo!
Please, Duchess, would you tell me why your cat grins like that?
It's a Cheshire cat. That's why, pig.
I beg your pardon.
I wasn't speaking to you. I was speaking to Achoo. To this brat.
Without warning, the Duchess hurled pots and pans, missing the baby by inches.
Take that, pig. And that, and that.
Good heavens, Duchess, why are you throwing pots and pans at the baby?
Why? Speak roughly to this little boy and punish him when he sneezed. You only does it to annoy him because he knows it teases. Here, you may nurse my pig for a bit, if you like it.
Oh, please, I nearly dropped it.
I must go and get ready to play croquet with the Queen.
If I don't take this child away with me right now, he's doomed.
Alice waited for the Duchess's next sneeze, then seized her chance. She darted across the room, baby in hand, and escaped out the front door.
There. Please don't squeal like that, my dear. The only babies who squeal are piglets. Oh, you are a piglet. Well, I should still think that leaving you with that awful Duchess is much too dangerous. Punish him when he sneezes, indeed. You'll be happier living in the woods. Run on.
A wise choice. If he had grown up, he would have made a dreadfully ugly child. But he makes a rather handsome pig, I think.
The grin came first, then the eyes, then the striped body, then the tail. Then the whole Cheshire cat was lounging in a tree above Alice.
Oh, hello, Cheshire Puss.
Meow. Hello, Alice.
Would you please tell me which way I ought to go from here?
That depends on where you want to get to.
I'm looking for the White Rabbit.
And it doesn't matter which way you go. On the left path lives a hatter. On the right lives a March hare. Both can help you find the rabbit. Also, both are mad.
But I don't want to go among mad people.
Oh, you can't help that. We're all mad here. I'm mad, you're mad, we're all mad.
How do you know I'm mad?
You must be, or you wouldn't have come here today. Anyway, will you play croquet with the Queen today?
I'd like to, but I haven't been invited.
Doesn't matter. You'll see me there anyway.
Well, he's disappeared as quickly as he came. Who shall I visit first? I've seen hatters before, so I imagine the March hare will be the most interesting. And since this is June, it won't be raving mad, at least not as mad as it was in March.
Her decision made, Alice chose the right-hand path. It wound through the woods, twisting like the Cheshire cat's tail, and reached the house of the March hare. Alice knew this because the chimneys were shaped like pointy ears, and the roof was thatched with fur. And besides, the March hare was having tea at a table on the porch. The hatter sat opposite him, and a merry tea party was in progress. Merry at least until the hare spotted Alice.
A new guest? Go away, there's no room.
No room.
There's plenty of room, and I'm going to sit down. So there.
Have some wine.
I don't see any wine, March hare.
There isn't any.
Then it wasn't very civil of you to offer it.
Your hair wants cutting.
You should learn not to make personal remarks, Hatter. It's very rude.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
A riddle. How fun. Let me think.
Think? Do you mean that you think you can find the answer to it?
Exactly.
Then you should say what I mean. What you mean?
I do, at least I mean what I say. It's the same thing, you know.
It is not. Why, you might as well say that. I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see.
You might as well say that I like what I get is the same as I get what I like.
I'd better answer that riddle before they forget it. Now, let me see. Why is a raven like a writing desk? A raven, writing desk, raven, writing...
What day of the month is it?
The, first.
The first? This watch is 2 days wrong. I told you butter would suit the works hair.
It was my very best butter.
Yes, but some crumbs must have got in as well. You shouldn't have put it in with a bread knife.
But it was my best butter. Let me dip it in the tea. That'll work the crumbs out.
Oh, what a funny watch. It tells the day of the month and doesn't tell what o'clock it is.
Why should it? Does your watch tell you what year it is?
Of course not. But that's because it's the same year for such a long time.
Which is just the case with mine. Have you guessed the riddle yet?
No, I give up. What's the answer?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Nor I.
I think you might do something better with the time than wasting it on riddles that have no answers.
Ah, if you knew time as well as I do, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him.
I don't know what you mean.
Naturally you don't. I dare say you never even spoke to time.
Perhaps not, but I know I don't have to beat time when I learn music.
Ah, that accounts for it. Time won't stand beating. He and I quarrelled last March, just before the March hare went mad, you know. It was at that great concert given by the Queen of Hearts, and I had to sing. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above, the world so high. Well, I'd hardly finished the first verse when the Queen bawled out, "He's murdering the time off with his head."
How dreadfully savage.
And ever since then, time won't do a thing I ask. It's always 6 o'clock now.
Is that why so many tea things are put out here?
Yes, it's always tea time, and we've no spare time to wash the dishes.
Then you keep moving around, I suppose, from one seat to the next.
Exactly so, as the things get used up.
But what happens when you come to the beginning again?
Oh, we take some more tea.
I've had nothing yet, so I can't take more.
You mean you can't take less?
Nobody asked for your opinion.
Who's making personal remarks now?
Oh, you?
I want a clean cup. Let's move up one place.
But then you're the only one who gets a clean place, and I have to sit where the March Hare sat, and he's upset the milk jug into his plate.
We move only one seat over, and if you don't like that...
You don't have to drink the tea you haven't yet had.
This final rudeness was more than Alice could bear. She got up in disgust and walked off. Neither the hare nor the hatter took the least notice of her going. As Alice wandered on through the woods, she came upon a tree with a full-sized door carved in its trunk. She was not in the least bit surprised, for she'd come to expect anything in Wonderland. So she quickly opened the door and found herself not in a forest, but among a bright flower beds and gushing fountains of a beautiful palace ground. Along came a royal entourage, dressed in black, red and white. The Queen of Hearts, accompanied 5 guests, the White Rabbit, and the kings and queens of diamonds, spades and clubs, with their soldiers and courtiers. When the procession reached Alice, it stopped, and everybody glared at her as the Queen of Hearts spoke.
Who is this? How did she get in here? Speak, child. What's your name?
My name is Alice, so please, Your Majesty.
Alice?
Why, they're only a pack of cards. I needn't be afraid of them.
She has no business being Alice. Off with her head!
Nonsense!
Oh, consider my queen. She's only a child.
She has a head, Rabbit.
But Your Majesty...
Mind your own.
Yes, Your Highness.
On with the procession. For the present, child, you may keep your head.
Well, that's very kind of you.
Indeed. Walk with me.
The royal procession marched to the fountains in the centre of the garden, while Alice looked about vainly for some way of escape. But the Queen of Hearts kept constantly by her side.
Have you seen the mock turtle yet?
No, I don't even know what a mock turtle is.
Come on then, and I'll take you to the Cheshire Cat, and he shall take you to the mock turtle, and the turtle shall tell you his story.
Sure enough, after a little walk, the Queen and Alice came upon the Cheshire Cat, lying fast asleep atop a fountain. Alice didn't ask how he'd gotten there. She knew better.
Up, lazy cat. Up, you grinning Tom. I command you to escort this young lady to see the mock turtle and hear his story. I must go back and see after some beheadings I've ordered. Guards, attend me!
While the Queen rejoined her entourage, the Cheshire Cat motioned Alice on with a flick of his tail. They had not gone far before they saw the mock turtle in the distance, crouched sad and lonely on a little ledge of rock. And, as they came nearer, Alice heard him sighing as if his heart would break. She pitied him deeply.
Oh, what is his sorrow, Cheshire Puss? Cheshire Puss? Only one.
Let's find out. This young lady wants to know your story.
She does. Then I'll tell her. Sit down, both of you. And don't say a word until I've finished. Once upon a time, I was a real turtle. When we were little, the Cheshire Cat and I went to school in the sea. Our teacher was a little turtle. We used to call him Tortoise.
Why did you call him Tortoise if he was a turtle?
We called him Tortoise because he taught us.
You ought to be ashamed for asking such a simple question. Speak on, old chap. Don't be all day about it.
Where was I? Oh yes, we went to school in the sea. We had a first-class education. In fact, we went to school every day.
Every day. I've been to school too. What did you study?
Reeling and rhyming to begin with, and then the different branches of arithmetic, ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision.
And what else did you have to learn?
Well, there was a mystery. Mystery, ancient and modern with geography. Then drawing. The drawing teacher was an old moray eel that used to come once a week. He taught us drawing, sketching, painting, and poems.
Oh, what was that like?
Well, I can't show it to you myself. I'm too stiff. And the Cheshire Cat never learned it.
Didn't have time. I went to the classical teacher though. He was an old crowd. Brilliant.
I never went to him. He taught laughing and grief, they used to say.
And how many hours a day did you do lessons?
10 hours the first day, 9 the next, 8 and so on.
What a curious plan.
That's the reason they're called lessons, because they lessen from day to day.
10 lessons on the first day, minus 1 lesson for each subsequent day. The 11th day must have been a holiday.
Of course it was.
But what happened on the 12th day then?
Oh, that's enough about lessons. Tell her about the games.
All right. You may not have lived much under the sea,
Oh, I haven't.
and perhaps you were never even introduced to a lobster.
I once tasted oh, no, never mind. Never.
So you can never have an idea what a delightful thing a lobster quadrille is.
No, indeed. What sort of a dance is it?
Why, first you form a line along the seashore.
2 lines, seals, turtles, salmon, etc. Then when you've cleared the jellyfish out of the way,
Oh, that generally takes some time.
you advance twice, set to partners.
Change lobsters and retire in the same order.
Then, and this is my favourite part, you throw the lobsters as far out to sea as you can.
Swim after them.
Turn a somersault in the sea.
Change lobsters again.
Swim back to land again. And that's all there is to this first figure.
It must be a very pretty dance.
Yes, would you like to see it?
Oh, very much indeed.
Oh, bother. I forgot to bring my lobster. Let's try the first figure anyway, Cheshire. We shall have to manage lobsterless music maestro.
And so they began solemnly dancing round and round Alice, advancing twice, swapping positions, trading and throwing lobsters they didn't have, swimming through a sea that wasn't there, somersaulting, then changing lobsters again, and throughout it all, the mock turtle recited,
Will you walk a little faster? Said a whiting to a snail. There's a porpoise close behind us, and he's treading on my tail. See how eagerly the lobster and the turtles all advance. They are waiting on a shingle. Will you come and join the dance?
Thank you. It's a very interesting dance to watch, even without the lobsters. And I do so like that curious bit about the whirling. But if I'd been here, I'd have to say the porpoise. Keep back, please. We don't want you with us.
They were obliged to have him with them. No wise fish would go anywhere without a porpoise.
Really?
Of course not. Why, if a fish came to me and told me he was going on a journey, I should say, with that porpoise?
Oh, don't you mean purpose?
I mean what I say.
Come on, it's time to go to the trial.
Oh, what trial?
Your trial. Come on.
Without another word, the Cheshire Cat seized Alice's hand in his paw and hurried her across the palace grounds. Back they went, past flower beds and fountains, until they reached the courtroom built of red, black and white marble. A great crowd had assembled there, all the peculiar little birds and beasts of Wonderland, as well as the whole deck of cards. The White Rabbit, dressed in the livery of a herald, attended to the throne where the Queen of Hearts presided. The Queen wore a judge's wig over her crown and glared murderously at Alice, who was guided by the Cheshire Cat to a table in the middle of the court. Laid upon the table was a large dish of jam tarts.
Tarts. I wish they'd get the trial done, hand round the refreshments.
No chance of that. Those tarts are what the trial's all about. You've been accused of stealing them.
I stole nothing. And what are the jurors writing on their slates for? They can't have anything to put down before the trial's begun.
They're writing down their names in case they forget them before the end of the trial.
Silly creatures. Why, they're all writing silly creatures on their slates. And look, several of them can't spell it correctly.
accusation.
The rabbits.
I'm on I've got different pages.
The herald is asleep.
Yes.
The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts, all on a summer's day. The Knave of Hearts, she stole those tarts and took them quite away.
Correct. Your cunning disguise doesn't fool me, knave. I knew you were a thief from the moment I saw you. Sending you to the Mock Turtle was a mere ruse to distract you while I prepared this trial. What a clever queen I am. Consider your verdict, jury. I consider mine. Off with her head!
No, not yet, my queen. There's a great deal to come before that.
Oh, very well. Call the first witness.
First witness, the Hatter, sometimes called Mad.
Alright. I beg pardon, Your Majesty, for bringing my tea and bread and butter with me, but I hadn't quite finished eating when I was sent for.
Well, you ought to have finished eating. When did you begin?
14th of March, I think.
15th.
16th.
The jury dutifully wrote all 3 dates on their slates. Then they added them up. And then they reduced the answer to shillings and pence. Only every single juror's answer was different. Just at this moment, Alice felt a very curious sensation, which she recognised at once. Alice was beginning to grow again. So she decided, however, to remain in the courtroom as long as there was room for her. The Cheshire Cat, who sat next to her, objected at once.
Oh, I wish you wouldn't squeeze me so. I can hardly breathe.
I can't help it, Cheshire Puss. I'm growing.
You've got no right to grow here.
Don't talk nonsense. You're growing too.
Yes, but I grow at a reasonable rate, not in that ridiculous fashion.
Meanwhile, as Alice and the Cheshire Cat grew ever larger, the Hatter had gotten so nervous under the Queen's gaze that he bit a piece out of his teacup instead of his bread and butter.
I'm a poor man, Your Majesty.
You're a very poor speaker, so I may as well behead you on the spot.
I'd rather finish my tea.
Oh, yes, your tea, in case you may go.
At once, Your Majesty. I'm going.
Going straight to my executioner. Who'll behead you outside? Call the accused, Rabbit.
Alice!
What? Already?
Yes, already. What do you know about this business, huh?
Nothing.
Nothing whatsoever?
Nothing whatsoever.
Oh, that's very important.
Unimportant, Your Majesty means, of course.
Unimportant, I meant. Very important, unimportant.
While half the jury wrote important and the other half wrote unimportant, Alice, who had been growing all the while, felt her head bump the courtroom's ceiling. The Cheshire Cat, who had also been growing all the while, still sat squashed beside her.
Giants! Giants in the court! What does the rule book say about that? Rule 42. All persons more than a mile high will immediately leave the court.
I'm not a mile high.
It's the oldest rule in the book. Sorry.
That's all right. Well, I shan't go at any rate. Besides, it's not a proper rule, even if it is the oldest rule in the book. You invented it just now. And if it's the oldest rule in the book, it ought to be number 1.
Silence! Jury, consider your verdict. Sorry, Ron. I still consider mine. Off with...
No, there's more evidence to come yet. Please, Your Majesty, this paper has just been picked up.
What's in it?
I haven't opened it yet, but it seems to be a letter written by the accused to somebody.
Unless it was written to nobody, which isn't at all usual, you know. Who is it directed to?
It isn't directed at all. In fact, there's nothing written on the outside. It isn't a letter after all. It's a set of verses.
Are they in the accused handwriting?
They're not.
Aha! She must have imitated somebody else's hand. That proves her guilt. Off with her!
It doesn't prove anything of the sort. Why, you don't even know what the verses are about.
Read them at once.
And so the rabbit read the following. They told me you had been to her, and mentioned me to him. She gave me a good character, but said I could not swim. He sent them word I had not gone. We know it to be true. If she should push the matter on, what would become of you? I gave her 1, they gave him 2, you gave us 3 or more. They all returned from him to you, though they were mine before.
That's all she wrote, Your Majesty.
Yes, that's the most important piece of evidence we've heard yet.
I don't believe there's an atom of meaning in it.
If there's no meaning in it, Alice, that saves a world of trouble, as we needn't find any and behead you right now. And yet, I don't know, I seem to find some meaning here. Said I could not swim. You can't swim, can you, Cheshire Cat?
Why, you look like I can.
Actually, the Cheshire Cat didn't look like anything, because he had just disappeared.
I hate it when he does that. Anyway, back to the evidence. We know it to be true. That's a jury, of course. If she should push the matter on, that must be me. Who would become a you? Yes, well, indeed. I gave her 1, then gave her 2. Why, that must be what she did with the tarts.
But it goes on further. They all returned from him to you.
And so they had. The tarts lay on the table. Not one had been stolen.
Bah! Enough of this farce. Sentence first, verdict later.
Stuff and nonsense. The idea of having the sentence first.
Hold your tongue, impudent girl.
I will not.
Off with her head.
But nobody moved. For Alice, who was now her full size and much too large for them to do anything about it, stood up, lifting off the entire courtroom's roof and dumping the jury box and its occupants onto the floor.
Who cares for you? You're nothing but a pack of cards.
Off with her head! Off with her head!
At this, the whole pack rose up into the air as if lifted by a fierce cyclone and flew upon her.
Good gracious! Oh, get off me!
Caught in the savage card cyclone, Alice thrashed on the spot, tried to beat them away, until she found herself lying on the riverbank where she'd first seen the rabbit. Alice's head lay in the lap of her sister, who was gently brushing away some dead leaves that had fluttered down from the trees upon her face.
Wake up, Alice dear. Why, what a long sleep you've had.
Sleep? Oh, sister, I've had such a curious dream about a place called Wonderland. There was a rabbit and food that made me change sizes, and a baby that changed into a pig, a Cheshire Cat, a mock turtle, March Hare, Mad Hatter, and the Queen of Hearts. I was put on trial, and gracious, I'm hungry. Is it tea time yet, sister?
Indeed it is, Alice, and since I finished my chapter, I shall prepare tea for the both of us, while you tell me all about your adventures in Wonderland.
Well, sister, it all started when I swallowed a white rabbit.
The end.